he chopped down a tree that fell and broke her personal dye pots. To make amends and secure her protection, he agreed to always honor her with an annual festival. Oshun is not just about beauty in general. She's specifically about this particular skill.
Yes, she is. Indigo is owned by Oshun. And during the period of the transatlantic slave trade, indigo was a commodity that surpassed the value of gold.
Those who wear these garments pay special tribute to the goddess. But those who make them are her personal disciples.
So this is their ministry, you can say. They're expressing and venerating Oshun in the process of their work.
This is gorgeous. I like this style.
Carrying the Yoruba fabric they bought in Lagos, Funlayo, along with Sandy and Jillian, meet with a local seamstress. They'll soon have ritual dresses to wear at the festival's finale.
You'll find people, no matter what religion they are, wearing Yoruba clothing. So they could be Yoruba people who are Christian, Muslim, Orisha worshipers, it doesn't matter. But for American practitioners, wearing these things back home has a different type of significance, because even if you're not in the tradition, people may assume you are. And it's a way to kind of identify yourself as someone who has an African cultural orientation, if not specifically Orisha tradition.
This would look good for that.
Now that Alafia and Oni are Oshun priestesses, they make their first visit to the grove.
Walking into the grove is overwhelming. It's magical.
When you put on these clothes, do you feel transported in some way?
The crown definitely makes me feel beautiful. You know, having the tassels and then being able to see through those and seeing the world kind of through honey. That's what it looks like. Everything has a certain sweetness, has a certain beauty.
We're brides of the goddess. So it's like our veil is something that you would see in a wedding almost. And it's like the bride is beautiful and everybody's attention is on her and everything like that. So it's beautiful. It makes you feel beautiful.
The bell of Oshun is to send the message straight to her ears. It's almost as if saying our prayers and ringing the bell is speaking directly to her, so she can hear us clearly and understand of what we're saying and what we're praying for. My bell makes me speak louder because I tend to pray quietly, and you know, you're supposed to pray as loud as you can so that it can be heard. So I try to talk over the bells, so it kind of helps me pray even more.
Standing at the river's edge and touching the water for the first time brings an overwhelming sense of calm. Like everything that we've accomplished so far in our initiation and then coming here to where Oshun stays, it's like we're coming home.
You were raised African American. Many of your relatives were taken from this place or places like it by force. You are coming back by choice. Tell me about that.
I actually consider myself to be an American African because it wasn't by choice. So much of our knowledge was taken away, so much of our religious faith was taken away, our names were taken away. We were blank canvases, and there is no power in not knowing who you are and not knowing where you come from. This journey, coming back here, means that I'm taking back that power, I'm taking back that identity, and I'm walking in that, I'm walking in who I am.
In Ashogbo, the sacred art of the grove is echoed in the home and temple of the High Priestess, known as the Iya Oshun. She began her training for the priesthood at age 3 and has spent her entire life serving the goddess.
The Oshun is the caretaker of Oshun, of the Oshun Festival, of the Oshun Grove, and of the knowledge of Oshun. She learns from a very young age the oral tradition, that is the poetry, the history, the songs, and the rituals that accompany Oshun practice and worship.
For the past few weeks, one of the Iya Oshun's primary duties is preparing the adolescent girl who will perform the most important ritual on the festival's final day. The Aruba, as she's known, will carry the town's sacrificial offering through the city into the grove to the river itself. Chosen from the extended family of the king, she must be a virgin, symbolizing her purity.
We chose her as Aruba from the girls from the royal family between ages 10 to 40, and one by one we win the divination, and she became the one that Oshun chose, and since then we started preparing her.
As the goddess of fertility, Oshun is also the deity of children. It's one reason so many women in particular travel so far to worship her. To come to this festival is to renew your own sense of possibility, to open yourself up to the hopes and dreams that may have dimmed with time and age. The festival has been taking place mostly indoors until now. But the day before the final procession, the streets fill with anticipation.
Now suddenly for miles you have all these stalls. You've got gin used for sacrifices, you've got yams the size of elephant feet, and all this fried food. You've got fish heads, peanuts, boiled eggs. It's like this whole festival has popped up virtually overnight.
Whether you live in Oshogbo or have come halfway around the world, the energy is contagious. Some pilgrimages are about quiet contemplation. This is African. It's about drumming and dance, even if you're not very good at it. The excitement is also building in the sacred grove, where the holy shrine and pavilion are being readied for the crowds that will soon descend. I've stumbled onto what is a common scene in the grove. You have a group of young guys, and they're going to make a sacrifice to Oshun, the goddess of the river. What they've done is they've taken off the head of the chicken, and they are dripping the blood onto the head of the young man. So at the climactic moment of the sacrifice, they take the body and they toss it into the river. That's the official offering of the animal to the goddess Oshun. Funlayo and her friends arrived to spend some quiet time in the grove before the crowds.
You study the spread of African people around the Americas. Do you feel that the traditional religions of Africa can unite these otherwise disparate people?
I would say that the peoples actually have a lot in common, but I think really a lot of the work is realizing our similarities. Religion definitely is a thread, but with religion comes the music, comes the ritual, comes a community.
That's why the Oshun Festival is so important to me too, because she represents the figure who can bring communities together.
So tell me about what it means actually coming to this place.
We can see all the ways in which we are connected. And it's important for those who are here in Nigeria to see us come and to know that their traditions are still alive and flourishing, because unfortunately the tradition is under attack even here in its birthplace. So when the devotees here see people coming from everywhere around the world still worshiping the deities who were born here, it gives them a renewed sense of energy and pride.
Even in Oshun's home city, Orisha faith is under threat from outside religions. There's a church on every corner, a mosque on most streets. Locals have Christian names, and kids attend parochial schools.
I have to say I'm stunned by this, and it raises a question, which is, how can this traditional religion live side by side with these more contemporary ones that in many ways are trying to eliminate it?
Christianity and Islam, they are two monotheistic traditions that preach about an exclusive God. You know, Islam, radical monotheism, doesn't allow any other to share in the glory of Allah. Or Christianity, outside the church, they say there's no salvation for other people. The evangelical Christian traditions are having a significant impact on indigenous religion. They are discouraging people from practicing the Orisha tradition.
Each year, Funlayo and others organize workshops to empower local Orisha believers to fight back against this encroachment.
Church and religion is about so much more than just worship because they offer social connections. Some of the churches, unfortunately, have even gone so far as to literally tell traditionalist youth, hey, we can get you a job if you'll convert to Christianity. And so we're trying to really make it so that traditionalists are able to build their own connections and won't feel that they have to desert their religion in order to progress in life.
So does this traditional faith have a future in its own homeland? To help answer that question, I'm off to visit a local priest who's offered to do a divination on me. I'm shocked to discover that even he lives next door to a church.
What is your name?
My name is Bruce.
Bruce. This is Ifa. You take it, you touch your head.
Okay.
And your chest. You make your prayer.
In the West, so many of our religious rituals now take place in big buildings, where worshippers are far removed from holy objects and surrogates perform sacred duties. Here, everything is more immediate and intimate. It feels more personal, more visceral.
If a divination was made for Ori head.
Of my head?
Bring your head.
The priest tells me I have to open my mind in order to appreciate the final day of the festival. And speaking of openness, I ask if his tradition is being threatened by other religions moving in next door.
How can the spirit of that church and the spirit of this temple live side by side?
You can go to anywhere in the world, even the Muslims, Christian, we are one. The way we worship our God might be different, but we are only calling one God. Let me be frank with you. The people that I attend to every day is Muslim and Christian. They do come here to the temple. They know when they need help, they know the right place to go.
It's precisely this ability to coexist with others that will likely allow this tradition to survive. Orisha has a much higher tolerance for other faiths than the more triumphant religions have for it. And just as it survived slave owners who Christianized their captives, so it will surely find a way to adapt to those same tactics. As the moon rises before the big day, the streets are still crowded. Drums pound through the darkness. Near midnight, Nathaniel Stiles brings me to the sacred shrine, where the 14-year-old virgin princess is being ready for the procession. Tomorrow, she'll carry the town's offering down to the river. The priestesses around her are warm and welcoming. The mood is high. Stepping in here feels like entering the Yoruba Holy of Holies. There's a pulsing fervor to the place. Also, it's hot, humid, and becomes increasingly intense.
At exactly the moment I felt myself getting almost lightheaded, this priest came through and started elbowing me aside and said, "You're not allowed in here." He actually kicked me out because he said it's just so important and he doesn't want me. And look at you, you're drenched in sweat.
Yes.
What's it like for you to be in there? Did it feel like that Holy of Holies?
Most definitely. A sudden burst of energy and heat.
Heat, exactly.
Heat, very intense, electrifying energy.
But it's not just external heat also.
No, it's internal. It's very much so.
That excitement only builds overnight as the city of Oshogbo and the Yoruba people, ready once more to renew their timeless bond with the goddess of life. As people pour into the city, the military beefs up its presence, a reminder of violence between Muslims and Christians a few hundred miles to the north. Here, the mood is undimmed.
Behind me is where the Yoruba, the young princess, has been closeted for weeks, being prepared for the occasion. In a few minutes, she's going to walk outside that door, prepared to lead the procession, and suddenly have the eyes of the Yoruban people on her. It's quite a lot of pressure for a 14-year-old girl.
The streets fill with drumming, dancing, celebration. With thousands of others, I begin the mile-long walk from the city center to the sacred grove. Sandy and Jillian, wearing their new dresses, are doing the same thing, along with Funlayo. Alafia and Oni will come along later with the Aruba.
We're entering the grove now, and you can start to see everybody with all the religious paraphernalia that you need. So these women here are carrying mats and all the materials for the divination. And almost everybody walking into the grove has a bottle, a jug, or a huge can that's now empty that they're going to fill with water.
Like the high point of many religious journeys, this event feels like one part sacred rite, one part carnival. It's religion as communal bonding, homecoming for the Yoruba people.
This is incredible. I've never seen anything like it in my life. The energy, the music, the drumming, just kind of speechless about. It's certainly the religion that I grew up in. People don't express themselves this way. I grew up in a very conservative Christian church, and this kind of celebration, exhilaration, would have been really frowned upon.
The Orisha tradition is very, very rich, vibrant, energetic, all of that. We don't pray in silence. We pray with singing, we pray with bells, we pray with dancing and having fun.
While thousands strut their way toward the river, thousands more flock to the palace shrine to greet the Aruba. The young maiden is about to appear in public for the first time in more than a month. Everything that takes place today is carefully choreographed. The movements, the dress code, even the Aruba's security.
The Aruba is protected by the Oshun priestesses. Around them are guards who bear whips, who keep the crowd back. And there's sort of a performance that goes on with young men who are being hit with the whips. It's part of a drama that is played out, but it also signifies that people should move back.
At mid-morning, with viewers hanging from every window and the streets packed, the Aruba finally steps outside. She's hidden beneath a bright canopy and carrying the sacrificial offerings she'll take to the river. Deirdre Badejo is among the priestesses who surround the Aruba. The group starts the procession that will take more than 2 hours to bring them into the grove. Among the group are the new initiates, Oni and Alafia.
This is beyond anything that I thought. You know how you see pictures of festivals and parades and things like that? They have nothing on this. This is intense. There are people everywhere, everywhere. Look at our numbers. Look how many of us there are. It feels good to be amongst each other and to celebrate with one another.
As the crowd approaches the most sacred area, Worshippers erupt into a unified cheer, like fans at a sporting event. The gesture signifies clearing out the old to make room for the new.
Part of the festival is cleansing and renewal. So when you do that, you're warning any negative energy to go so that the blessings of Oshun can come in.
It does seem to work when you're doing it with the crowd, and you actually do kind of feel like something happening when we're all doing it together. So seems to be working so far.
The crowd around the Aruba grows more congested as she nears the river. Spectators cheer. Everybody wants a glimpse. The spotlight on her must surely feel intense. The king's entourage arrives at the riverbank first, headed by armed guards. The scene is chaotic, almost dangerous at times. Guns go off almost constantly. A few times I feel unsafe, about to be crushed.
Here comes the high priestess.
As the Aruba and her priestesses reach the enclave, the crowd erupts. Suddenly, the tension breaks, replaced by jubilance. The young girl will bear her offering to Oshun with the hopes of the town, and they want their prayer delivered with joy. Sacred rivers are central to many religious traditions, from the Nile in ancient Egypt to the Ganges in Hinduism. Here, though, the river is so holy you're not allowed to bathe in it. Only cleanse with it and make sacrifices to it. The river is the goddess.
Now we're going to offer cola, gin, and prayers to Oshun. We're going to ask her for blessings, report any problems that we have, and just thank her for all the blessings that she's already given to us. And we're just hoping for what we call alafia, ire bogbo, blessings all around, and health and long life. That's the most important blessing.